Marcellus Shale legislation is now in place in Pennsylvania. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me is Pennsylvania State Representative Todd Stephens. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about the background of this legislation, because this is legislation, different incarnations of the legislation that had worked to go forward under two different governors, but it is now in place. Talk to us a little bit about the history of it.
Well, I think it just evidences the great challenge we faced with this particular piece of legislation. For 4 years, the legislature, two previous sessions of the legislature, and as you pointed out, a previous administration worked on crafting a bill that could become law, and they were unable to do so. So I had heard from so many constituents that we were leaving revenue on the table, our environment was not properly protected, and all the shortcomings that existed. And so, I'm proud to say that we were able to get something done and move the ball forward, if you will.
And this, though, for many people is a compromise, but it's a compromise that many people on both sides of the aisle are still not happy with.
Absolutely. The far left and the far right members in the House of Representatives voted no on this bill. I mean, this bill passed with bipartisan support, but it also received bipartisan objection. The left didn't think it went far enough, and the right didn't want any fee or any environmental regulations. So the fact that we were able to reach an agreement and get the requisite number of votes to actually improve the environmental protections and generate revenue from these drillers, I think is a positive. Let's
get into some of the specifics. First of all, let's start with the environmental side of this. There are some changes made when it comes to things like setbacks where the wellheads are actually located. Talk to us a little bit about what that includes.
Sure. This bill increases the setbacks from waterways, from wells, from important environmental resources. So this provides greater protection for our water and for our environment in that respect. It also requires something that I've heard so much about from my constituents, disclosure of the chemicals used in the fracking process. And it requires the drillers to disclose that particular information. It also requires site inspection reports to be posted online for the public to view. There are a number of environmental protections. There's also an increased bonding requirement. We learned from the coal industry that unfortunately, after the industry leaves, sometimes there are problems that need to be remediated. And this will ensure that taxpayers are not the ones footing the bill for that we have a greater bond that each driller needs to post, so that if there's a problem, we have the resources necessary and it doesn't have to come from the taxpayers.
That's one component of it, but let's talk about the economic side of this. Talk to us a little bit about what this means for counties. Counties will actually have to opt in.
Sure. The local counties will have the opportunity to impose the fee. Sort of the trade-off there is they will receive about 60% of the revenue to offset the impacts that the drillers have on that particular community. So whether it's road maintenance or whether it's restoring environmental fields or open space or things along those lines, there's plenty of money that will be driven out to those types of programs to ensure that the community is left intact as these drillers move forward with the industry. Importantly, though, 40% of the revenue is going to be used on statewide programs, and that was very important to me. Earlier versions of the bill only had about 25% of the revenue going statewide. This bill that was enacted actually has 40% of the revenue going statewide, and it's going statewide for important environmental programs: open space preservation, flood control, acid mine drainage. It's got components in there for bridge repairs and remediation. I mean, there's a lot that we can be happy about as it relates to this bill.
And what is the actual extraction fee rate? Because there has been debate about that.
Sure. It actually will fluctuate with the value of natural gas. As the value of natural gas increases, so will the fee. Many of my constituents said, well, that's well and good. You're going to establish a fee at this level, but the drillers are going to make X number of dollars in profits, and that's too much. Well, this rate will fluctuate so that as they generate less revenue, the fee will be lower.
Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
We've been talking with Pennsylvania State Representative Todd Stephens. I'm Jill Horner.